Let's begin with developments in the United Kingdom, where the Prime Minister has announced his resignation as Conservative leader, but says he will continue to serve as Prime Minister until the party chooses his successor. Boris Johnson says it's clearly now the will of Conservative MPs that there should be a new leader. The Prime Minister says a herd instinct at Westminster rejected his bid to stay on as party leader. But a growing number of Tory MPs say he has to leave number 10 now rather than wait. Labour says Mr. Johnson cannot stay on as Prime Minister. They will try to bring a no-confidence vote in Parliament. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, who has remained silent for days, is cutting short a foreign trip and into London.
That there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place. So I want to say to the millions of people who voted for us in 2019, many of them voting Conservative for the first time, thank you for that incredible mandate, the biggest Conservative majority since 1987, the biggest share of the vote since 1979.
Think there are any circumstances in which he should resign?
The job of a Prime Minister in difficult circumstances when he's been handed a colossal mandate is to keep going.
Some Tory members of Parliament are calling for him to stand down immediately after more than 50 government ministers and aides quit his government. Nadim Zahawi this morning told Johnson he must go now, 2 days after being made Chancellor.
As soon as I was made aware of the allegation that he has just read out, Mr. Speaker, and the complaint that was made, he lost his status as a Conservative MP.
New Education Secretary Michelle Donnellan and Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis resigned from cabinet. On Wednesday night, Boris Johnson sacked Michael Gove after the Levelling Up Secretary told him to quit. Less than 3 years ago, Mr. Johnson won an historic landslide victory in a general election. But he has been dogged by controversies in recent months, including a fine for breaking his own lockdown laws.
Now, how much consideration are you giving to the prospect of your resignation?
I'm happy to tell you that I'm getting on with the job that I was elected to do, and that is what I'm going to do.
So all these problems are basically somebody else's fault?
No, I think that it was
so who is
one of these people who's left.
Who is responsible? Who should be held accountable?
I am responsible, but I'm also responsible.
The revolt this week was triggered by revelations about the Prime Minister's handling of sexual misconduct allegations against former Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said the Prime Minister's resignation was a good news for the country, but should have happened long ago. Sir Keir accused the Prime Minister of lies, scandal and fraud on an industrial scale and said those who have been complicit should be utterly ashamed. His supporters will argue that he offers some semblance of continuity and stability at the time when there was not much of either. Critics, such as Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, are already arguing it isn't sustainable given the huge number of vacancies in government. Labour also thinks he should leave as Prime Minister now, and there should be an interim Prime Minister until the autumn.
Pressures on their budgets, Mr. Speaker, and when we have the biggest war in Europe for 80 years, Mr. Speaker, that is exactly the moment that you'd expect a government to continue with its work, not to walk away.